Imagine waking up tomorrow and being told this: bread can no longer cost more than this. Meat has a fixed price. Wages are capped. Rent is capped. Sounds like a dream, right? Now, imagine being told something else. If you charge more than the allowed price, you could be executed. This is not a modern experiment. This happened over 1700 years ago when the Roman Empire tried to control prices and triggered one of the worst economic disasters in its history. My name is Rami. Welcome to the show. It is the late 3rd century. The Roman Empire still stretches from Britain to Egypt, from Spain to the edges of Mesopotamia. On maps, it looks unstoppable. In reality, it is exhausted. Armies are everywhere, borders are under pressure, and every soldier needs to be paid. In cities, markets are crowded and loud. Merchants argue, customers complain, coins change hands quickly because no one wants to hold on to them for long. The problem is not that Rome has run out of money, it is that its money no longer means what it used to. For generations, Roman coins were made of silver, not symbolic silver, real silver. You could trust it even if you did not trust the emperor, which, to be fair, was often the safer bet. But as wars dragged on and expenses grew, that silver quietly began to disappear. The coins still looked official, the emperor's face was still there, but inside they were thinner, lighter, less valuable. People noticed, merchants raised prices to keep up, soldiers demanded higher pay, farmers asked for more just to survive, and suddenly the same coin that bought a loaf of bread last year barely covered half of it this year. To ordinary Romans, it felt like everything was getting more expensive for no clear reason. Sound familiar, right? We don't have diaries from every Roman citizen, but we do have complaints. One story appears again and again in different forms. A merchant brings up grain to the city. He knows what it costs him to grow, transport it, and sell it. He raises his prices, not to get rich, but just to keep doing business. The crowd does not see that part. They see the price, and they see someone they can point at. To them, the problem is not the coin in their hand, it is the man behind the counter. Arguments break out, accusations follow. Merchants start bringing less to the market. Farmers hold back grain. Goods do not disappear overnight. They just become harder to find. Because when selling feels risky, not selling feels safer. To the government, this looks like greed, like hoarding, like sabotage. To the people selling food, it feels like survival. And in the middle of that tension, the empire draws the wrong conclusion. Someone must be charging too much. Someone must be breaking the rules. After all, it is much easier to blame the baker than to admit you broke the money. And that's when the empire decided to step in. In the late 3rd century, becoming a Roman emperor was not a long-term career plan. It was a dangerous job with a very short life expectancy. Emperors were declared by armies, abandoned by armies, and often killed by the same men who put them in power. Some ruled for years, some ruled for months, a few barely long enough to update the paperwork. Rome called this survival. Historians would later call it the crisis of the 3rd century. In this world, stability did not mean peace. It meant waking up still in charge. This is the stage Diocletian walks into. He's not born into royalty. He does not inherit the throne. He rises through the army, one command at a time. And when power finally comes within reach, it arrives the Roman way. His predecessor, the Emperor Numerian, dies under suspicious circumstances while on campaign. the army demands answers. Diocletian steps forward, calls an assembly, and publicly accuses the imperial official Apa of murder. Then, in front of the troops, Diocletian draws his sword and kills him on the spot. It is a bold move. In Rome, it is also considered a resume. Shortly after Diocletian is declared emperor, he does not arrive with grand speeches or divine promises. He arrives with a reputation. Order will be restored, or else. Diocletian looks at the empire and sees a system held together by force of habit. Too many borders, too many enemies, too many soldiers to pay, and a population that no longer trusts its own money. Not exactly the welcome package you would hope for, but Diocletian is not sentimental. Where others improvised, he reorganized. Where others ruled alone, he shared power, dividing the empire so it could survive. For the first time in decades, Rome begins to feel quieter. Rebellions slow, borders hold. Orders finally seems possible. But one problem refused to fall into line. Prices keep rising, markets stay tense, people stay angry, and to a man who believes order can be imposed, this does not look complicated. The army obeys, officials obeys, provenance obey, so why wound the marketplace? To Diocletian, the empire is not broken, people are, and people can be disciplined. In the year 301 AD, Diocletian does something no Roman emperor had ever attempted before. He decides the state will tell people exactly how much things are allowed to cost. No suggestions, no guidelines, maximum prices. The law is known as the Edict of Maximum Prices. It's carved into stone and displayed across the empire, in cities, towns, marketplaces. This is not a quiet reform, it is public, permanent, impossible to miss. The edict lists over 1,000 items: bread, grain, wine, meat, olive oil, clothing, shoes, even transport, wages for farm workers, pay for builders, fee for teachers, even the price of a haircut. Yes, the empire decided how much your barber was allowed to earn. Apparently, inflation had reached the fringe and beard stage. The law goes further. It fixes the cost of hiring a mule, the price of moving goods, the daily pay of laborers. Someone, somewhere, put a lot of thought into this. The logic is simple. If prices are rising because people are charging too much, then stop them. If wages are rising too fast, cap them. If markets are unstable, freeze them in place. On paper, it looks like order. For ordinary Romans, it even sounds necessary. Finally, someone is in charge. Someone is doing something. Diocletian makes one thing very clear. This law is not optional. Anyone who charges more than the allowed price is breaking the law. The punishment is not a fine, it is the death. The message is unmistakable. Obey the price list or pay for it. Diocletian believes fear will do what trust no longer can, that discipline will succeed where money has failed. This was not his only reform, but it was the one that touched everyone. And for a brief moment, it seemed like it might work. At first, the law appears to work. Prices stop rising, at least on stone tablets. Officials patrol markets. Inspection increase. Warnings are issued. Fear does what fear always does. People comply. But something strange begins to happen. The market do not become cheaper. They become empty. Merchants read the price list carefully. They do the math. And many reach the same conclusion. Selling at these prices is not illegal. It's just not worth it. So they stop. Farmers bring less grain into the cities. Traders avoid marketplace altogether. Stalls that were once loud and crowded began to fall quiet. Goods do not disappear overnight. They simply slip away into homes, into back rooms, into storehouses, into places without price lists. Imagine a merchant with a cart full of olive oil. He knows the official price. He also knows it won't cover his costs. So he makes a choice. He does not sell. He waits. Maybe a friend will come back later. Maybe a private buyer. Maybe tomorrow. Because selling nothing carries no penalty. Selling at the wrong price carries a death sentence. In that situation, patience becomes a survival skill. The law was meant to stop hoarding. Instead, it rewarded. Black markets appear almost immediately. Prices do not vanish, they simply move out of sight. And when they do, they rise even higher. Now, people are not arguing about prices anymore. They are arguing about the risk. Who can be trusted? Who might inform? Who might be watching? The marketplace grows quieter and far more dangerous. According to later writers, enforcement turns harsh, punishment follows. No fines, no warnings, executions. The irony is hard to miss. The more aggressively the law is enforced, the less trade happens. The more Rome threatens its merchants, the fewer merchants Rome has. Fear does not bring goods to market, it drives them underground. Eventually, the system breaks under its own weight. Officials cannot monitor every exchange. Soldiers cannot stand behind every stall. The edict still exists, carved into stone, but stone does not buy bread. Quietly, without announcement, the law stops being enforced. Rome moves on. Prices remain unstable. Trust remains broken. The law that promised order leaves behind silence. Rome never officially repeals the law. It simply stops talking about it. The stone inscriptions remain. The price list stays carved. But the empire quietly accepts reality. Prices cannot be commanded into existence. Trust cannot be enforced. And fear is a poor replacement for functioning money. Diocletian eventually steps away from power, one of the very few Roman emperors to retire voluntarily. He leaves behind an empire that is more stable than before, but an economy that has learned a painful lesson. And it's a lesson history will keep relearning again and again and again. Wherever prices rises suddenly, wherever money loses trust, the temptation returns. Fix the numbers, blame the sellers, threaten punishment. It always feels decisive, it always feels fair, but it almost never works. Because prices are not just numbers, they are signals. They tell people when to produce, when to trade, when to take risks. Silence those signals and markets fall quiet. Not because people stop needing things, but because they stop trusting the rules. Nearly 1700 years ago, the Roman Empire tried to control prices by force. The result was not abundance, it was emptiness. If you find this story interesting, hit like, share and subscribe. And here is a question for you. If one of the most powerful empires in history could not command prices into submission, why do we keep thinking we can?